Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and compare the iPhone XS and compare it against the iPhone XR and see how both these phones compare in 2023. Now, both these phones are very good, I would definitely tell you, and even in this day and age, still very solid phones to pick up. So if you want to pick up some phones I would recommend this year, the links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, starting off side by side, you can definitely tell that between both these phones, there's a lot of similarity, but there's also a few differences as well. Both these phones came out in 2018. Now, the iPhone XR was supposed to be this kind of like more budget phone. It was supposed to be like a cheaper model of an iPhone XS, I would assume. On the front, it had a 6.1-inch Retina IPS panel. So this was an IPS screen. It was not OLED like on the iPhone XS, but I would say it was a decent panel. Like I think a lot of people thought it was going to be much worse than it was. And you still had the notch, you still had quite a bit of bezel around the whole entire phone. But I definitely do think with a phone like this, it could have been a lot worse. And I think this is still a pretty decent display when it comes down to it. It's not perfect, but I think in this day and age, the 6.1-inch panel actually is kind of standard now for a lot of phones. So the 10s, on the other hand, is smaller in pretty much every single way, but this was the more premium panel. I think this is an aftermarket display, but on the real one, you would get a 5.8-inch, Retina OLED display. Now with this one, really decent panel, for what you're getting. The 10s wasn't a humongous upgrade coming from the iPhone 10 in terms of the body, but you still had the notch, you still had a little bit of bezel, but this was a better panel than the iPhone 10R for sure. The rest of the body, though, I mean, there's still some overlap as well. There's way more differences now between the base model and the Pro models, but back then, the only difference in the body you would get really was like this, like a stainless steel side on the iPhone XS, where the iPhone XR had this aluminum side. So you can definitely tell the reflection makes it look a lot more premium, and that gold model looked really good. Now, I do have a skin on the back of my iPhone XS. On the iPhone XR, you could see single camera setup on the top left here. iPhone XS had a dual camera setup on the top left. So with that being said, a phone like the iPhone XS, I think you're definitely getting the overall better phone, I would say, because you're getting a better camera. You're getting, I would say, a little bit of a better build quality. But the iPhone XR, you were still maintaining things like that camera setup. That was nice. Wireless charging, glass backs on both, lightning ports, like, IP certification. So even though it was a cheaper phone on the iPhone XR, it wasn't like you were completely like, getting such a cheap phone that it was like not even crazy. There was a lot of overlap between these phones back then, which was nice. Now, in terms of software longevity, these phones are still supported with software. They're not really going to be going anywhere anytime soon, but I will probably tell you in the next, few years, both these phones are probably going to be unsupported at some point. So that's probably a big thing to keep in mind there. And I think that in of itself is a pretty big thing to keep in mind just, in that specific standpoint. So from that specific point, I mean, you're definitely going to be getting a really good performing phone from both, for the time being. But the iPhone XR is probably going to last as long as the iPhone XS and vice versa. Now let's go into a speed comparison between both these phones. The iPhone XR has that Apple A12 Bionic chip inside of it with 3 gigabytes of RAM, where the iPhone XS has the Apple A12 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM. So let's go and see which one is the faster one between both. Okay, there we go. All the apps are cleared out in the background except for these ones, so let me go clear them out. I totally forgot to clear them out, so it's going to take 1 second here. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's do their phone calls. 3, 2, 1. Okay, kind of the same thing. Let's do music. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so this one's probably taking a while. I don't know why that one took so long. I think the iPhone XS was probably the faster one there. Hopping out of this one, let's do their app stores. 3, 2, 1. Okay, the iPhone XR was faster there, but we did get into that other pop-up there. Let's go and kind of scroll through these and see which one's the faster one. And it kind of looks like to me the iPhone XR is doing a better job here. They're both updated on the most recent version of software. Actually, it kind of looked like to me there that the iPhone XR glitched up just a little tiny bit, but not a big deal. Let's go into settings. 3, 2, 1. Not that big of a difference. Clock. 3, 2, 1. I think I even messed that one up, but they open up around the same time. Let's do photos. 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's go and hop out of this one. Let's go and hop out of here. Let's go and get into some of these third-party applications. So we do have Genshin Impact on both, so let's try that one out. 3, 2, 1. Now this is a pretty big game, so it can take a little bit of time. So we'll just go and wait until it actually gets into that like loading screen, the main panel of its visual port, and that in and of itself is going to be a very interesting thing. So you can see the iPhone XR did kind of end up getting it faster there. The iPhone X is a little bit behind. Let's go and hop out of these two. Subway Surfers. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so right there, you can obviously tell the iPhone XS was able to get into that panel a little bit faster than the iPhone XR as well. Hopping out of this one, let's try Roblox, 3, 2, 1. I may have to log in, or maybe I'm logged in. So I did get into the upgrade panel here first. So let's go and click upgrade, see how long it takes us to get there. So the iPhone XS ended up getting there faster. Let's go and click update and see how long it takes on both 3, 2, 1. And this may take a minute, so we're just going to kind of hop out of it. So they're both kind of doing the same exact thing. So you can see the iPhone XS was able to just zip through that, and that's already installing the application. So that was like almost instantaneous. And now we're just getting it on the iPhone XR. So it could still very well be that the iPhone XR will beat the iPhone XS. I don't know, it's still stuck on that installing panel for a little bit of time. But that was honestly a very, very interesting thing. So the iPhone XR, the XS did end up loading it faster and downloading it faster than the iPhone XR. So not a crazy thing, but again, one of those things to kind of keep in mind. Let's try Temple Run 2, 3, 2, 1. And to me, it looks like the iPhone XS did kind of load that one up faster than the iPhone XR again. So again, with something like the iPhone XR, I think the 10R still does a very good job, but I think the iPhone XS is clearly the faster one here, which is totally fine. That's kind of what you'd expect. But I think the iPhone XR still held its own, and I still think it did a pretty decent job in this specific comparison. So from that specific standpoint, that kind of covers it up there. Now in the camera department, like I mentioned before earlier on this video, you're getting a dual camera setup on the iPhone XS and a single camera setup on the iPhone XR. Now you can do 4K at 60 on the back of both these, 1080p at 60 on the front. So I think that's a really cool thing. But because these phones have the same chipset, same optimizations, everything, you were just getting a better camera with a better hardware on the iPhone XS than on something like the iPhone XR. Now I think the XR still does a decent job. Like if you wanted to go ahead and just use this phone as like an everyday device, you wanted to go ahead and just take photos of people who yourself or the nature or whatever the case is, you'd probably be totally okay with this type of phone. You're getting like I don't even know like was 5x zoom internally and then like standard getting a 1x zoom on the outside. So you're not getting an ultra wide camera on either one of these phones, but you're not getting a telephoto lens on this one, which is kind of a big deal too. So you still have video mode, slow mode, time lapse, you have portrait video, panorama mode. So you still have a lot of stuff on this specific screen. It's not anything we haven't seen before, but I will say on something like the iPhone XS, this is probably the better camera when it comes down to it, and that's exactly what you'd expect. So with a screen like this, if we go and hop out of over here, you can see that we still have the same modes. So we still have pretty much exactly the same modes here, but we do have, if we go back into video or photo, we do have 10x zoom. So that is substantially more zoom that you're getting on a phone like this than on a phone like the iPhone XR. So that in and of itself is a really big thing to keep in mind as well. So overall, what I'd definitely tell you is I think the iPhone XS is pretty much the better phone when it comes down to it. Like if I had to pick up one phone over the other one, it might be the iPhone XS. Now, I have been in situations where my battery life was better on my iPhone XR, but the XS is probably the overall better phone with better display, better build quality, everything. But the iPhone XR is such a good deal. I think for the price that you're going to pay for a device like this, it is a very, very good deal that you're going to be paying for a phone like this, in my opinion. So I think that in and of itself is really cool. I think you can't really go wrong with either one of these phones for the price tags. But if you want to save even more money, the iPhone XR might be the better way to go. But I think the iPhone XS is still a fairly decent phone as well. So in terms of that, that kind of covers it up there. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.